All right, so let's dive into a story today about potential and procrastination and the impact a professor can have on a student. We're headed to Bangalore, India for this one, to a college campus where a computer science professor, she meets this student, and he makes quite an impression, even though he's hardly ever in class. It's kind of like reading a page out of someone's, diary or like a personal essay or something.
Yeah, it is kind of like that. And it's interesting you say that because the whole story is told from the professor's point of view. So it makes you wonder how Hassan himself would tell this story.
Yeah, exactly. And then add the whole other dimension to this deep dive.
Mm.
So we've got this student, Hassan. The professor describes him as this really charming, good-looking guy, tall with a great memory, comes from a wealthy family, seems really smart. But he's constantly battling this one big thing. He can't be on time. He's almost never in class. And when he is, it's usually after he's talked his way into getting his attendance marked.
Yeah, so right away we see this conflict between all this potential he has and his inability to actually be present for his education. You can tell the professor she's really invested in her students and she's trying to teach them discipline and a good work ethic, but Hassan's just slipping through the cracks. It makes you wonder if maybe his charm is kind of like a cover-up for some deeper insecurities or anxieties.
Yeah, like he's using it to avoid actually having to deal with his behavior. And you can tell the professor's really worried about him. She tries everything to get him to come to class more, like meetings, telling him how frustrated she is, even sometimes just giving in because he's so good at getting his way. But the whole time she's watching this brilliant student just waste all this opportunity.
Right, and think about it. In computer science, which moves so fast, if you start falling behind it can be hard to catch up. The professor knows that working hard consistently and having a solid base is super important, and she's seeing Hassan just miss out on that completely.
And so she takes it a step further. She calls his parents in for a meeting. We find out his father is this really busy, successful businessman, and he just brushes off the whole attendance thing. He thinks Hassan will grow out of it like it's just a phase. But his mother, she's really upset. She tells this story about how her son stays up all night and sleeps till the afternoon and ignores her when she begs him to change. It's really sad. You can just feel her helplessness.
It just shows how much a student's family can affect how they do in school. The dad is focused on outward achievements and maybe even pushing his own expectations on Hassan. Then you've got the mom who's really worried about how Hassan's doing, but feels like she can't do anything to make him change.
And so the meeting ends how you'd expect, with the parents arguing, each one blaming the other for what Hassan's doing.
So Hassan ends up becoming like the center of their own unresolved problems
Yeah.
and not having that support, not getting a consistent message about how important his education is. That might be part of why he's struggling.
Well, Hassan graduates, gets his degree, and kind of disappears from the professor's life for a while. Years go by, she teaches tons of other students, life moves on.
Mhm.
But you can just tell she never really forgets about him.
Yeah, there's this feeling that maybe things could have been different. The professor put in so much effort trying to help him, but in the end, it wasn't enough to really change his path at that time. It makes you think about how much a mentor can actually do and how much responsibility they should have.
That's a really good point. Like
Yeah.
you can lead a horse to water, but,
Yeah.
well, as it goes. So anyway, years later, the professor's secretary calls her and says there's this guy selling educational software who's really insistent on meeting with her. Says he's a former student, but he won't give his name.
Oh, wow. That's a good hook. I definitely want to know who this mysterious student is.
Right. So this guy walks in, and he's in his mid-30s now. He's a little heavier than she remembers, a little bit of gray hair, dressed pretty simply. Nothing like that rich kid she used to know. And at first, she doesn't even recognize him.
Oh, wow. That image of him coming back years later and looking so different, that says so much. I wonder what the professor was thinking at that moment. Was she disappointed or surprised? Probably a mix of both.
It's like that feeling you get when you see someone you haven't seen in forever, and all these memories come back, and all these expectations you had for them, and then you see where they actually ended up.
Yeah, it makes you question your own ideas about what it means to be successful and what it means to fail.
And so he has to remind her who he is.
Hmm.
He says, "Madam, it's me, Hassan. I was the one who was always late to your class."
There's a little self-awareness in that, don't you think? Like he knows how ironic it is that he's in this situation.
Oh, totally. And it leads to this really honest conversation where Hassan opens up about how he never really changed his bad habits. Now he's selling educational software, going door to door, trying to make a living. And he admits that not being disciplined, not being able to put in the work consistently, it really cost him.
What's really interesting here is this contrast between how smart Hassan naturally is and how much he struggles to actually get things done. It shows that even if you're talented, you need more than just showing up once in a while to be successful. You need dedication, you need to keep trying, and be willing to push through the hard stuff.
It's like they say, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And that's what happened to Hassan. He tells the professor about how he used to laugh at the students who were always studying, called them nerds. But now those same nerds are the ones who are doing really well in their careers, while he's the one struggling to find his place.
It's like he's looking back and wishing he'd made different choices, isn't it? It shows how important it is to delay gratification. Those nerds who are willing to put in the work early on are the ones who are benefiting from it now, while Hassan's the one who's got to play catch up.
And it's not just his career either. Hassan talks about how his relationship suffered, how he didn't appreciate his mom's help enough, how his laziness led to fights and frustration, and in the end, his family falling apart. His father, the one who said the attendance thing was just a phase, he finally had enough and told Hassan to move out.
It's a pretty harsh reminder that what we do affects other people too, not just ourselves. The choices Hassan made had consequences for the people around him, his relationships, his family, his whole support system.
It's really sad. But even with all this regret and self-blame, there's a little bit of hope. The professor, she's amazing. She sees a little bit of the old Hassan in him, that bright, charming student she used to know. And she encourages him. She tells him it's never too late to change, that willpower is like a muscle you can make stronger, that everyone has potential they just haven't tapped into yet.
That's what a real mentor does, isn't it? They see past your mistakes, your failures, and they still believe you can grow.
Exactly. She tells him, you might have lost one battle, but you can still win the war. And you can practically see this spark light up in Hassan's eyes. It's like he's finally starting to believe in himself again. And it's such a great moment because you really feel Hassan changing. Like he's starting to see that things could be different. But then the story just ends and we're left wondering, did he really turn his life around?
And I think that's what makes this piece so powerful, makes us think about what happens next. Did Hassan take that motivation and run with it, or did he fall back into his old ways?
It's almost like this story is asking us to look at our own lives.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever been in Hassan's position where you're struggling with procrastination or doing things that sabotage yourself? How did you deal with those challenges?
It's really easy to get stuck in that negative thinking, thinking you can't change. But this story shows us that even when we mess up, even when we make mistakes, we can always change course.
What the professor said really stuck with me. That you might have lost one battle, but you can still win the war. It's a good reminder that it's not about the setbacks. It's about how we react to them that really matters.
Yeah, and I think that resonates with people because we're all fighting our own battles in a way, right? Whether it's procrastination or self-doubt or trying to be the best we can be, it's like this ongoing journey of figuring ourselves out and growing.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what really stands out to you about Hassan's story? What can we learn from what he went through?
For me, it's a reminder that talent and smarts are only part of the picture. To be successful, you need discipline, and you have to keep trying, and you got to be willing to learn from your mistakes. It's about showing up consistently, even when it's tough, even when you don't want to.
And it shows how much of an impact mentors and teachers can have on our lives. They can give us hope and help us believe in ourselves and guide us toward making positive changes.
Definitely. And just like the professor helped Hassan and encouraged him, we can all try to be that for other people in our lives. Whether it's a friend, a family member, a coworker, we can listen to them, give advice, or just simply believe in them and their ability to overcome obstacles.
So if you know a Hassan, someone who's struggling to reach their full potential, remember what the professor said. It's never too late to start over, to change your story, to win the war.